What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I'm going to talk about school GPA and college expectations and what colleges expect from us, our students. And if your GPA is whatever, you convert it to the standard GPA form. For example, let's say your GPA is 4.0. What the heck does that mean? Is 4.0 going to help me get into an Ivy League school, or do I have to improve? I'm already 4.0. Where the do I go from here? I mean, 4.0 out of 4.3, that's pretty good, right? But like, do I need to even improve more? Do I even have a chance to top American colleges or not? How do you interpret 4.0 GPA? What does that mean? On the other end, if I'm 3.75, does that mean that I'm out of the league? I don't qualify? Doesn't matter how much I improve on the SAT or ACT, SAT subject test. Do I not have a shot at these top American colleges? Am I done? What does that mean? 3.7, 4.0, whatever, all these GPA numbers and scores. Let's try to really understand what it really means. Let's begin. All right, for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Andy at Andyprep. I've been doing educational consulting for the past 21 years. This is my 21st year. Now, I specialize in top American US college applications and consulting. In our company, Andyprep, we do have SAT courses, AP courses, and all that stuff too. Just for your information. You already knew that. Let's move on to today's topic. Let's do that. Have you ever wondered, here's a student, here's another student, okay, here, this student has a 4.0 GPA at whatever high school, and then there's another student whose GPA is 3.75, a little lower, but goes to a very competitive high school, like whatever, a private school that most of us know, top-ranked private high school, 3.7. A regular private high school, regular means that sounded weird, you know, like a small school that I graduated from. For those who don't know my background, I went to a high school that had a graduating class of 18 kids. 18, not 180. High school alone was about 80 students. In our senior class, we had 18 kids who graduated that year. Anyways, so the small school, 4.0, you know, how competitive can it be? And then someone who goes to very competitive high school with a little lower grade GPA, who's a better candidate? If you're the college admissions person, which kid do you choose? How do you decide? That's what we're going to study today. All right, before we get into the comparison, you have to sort of kind of have an idea what your GPA means, where it's coming from, right? So does your school weight the GPA or unweighted GPA system? Like, you find that out. If you can go to a website or online, even Google it, and then you could probably download school profile. It should mention it there, whether or not your school does unweighted or weighted GPA system. So if it's weighted, it basically means it gives it more incentive, bonus points, for example, to that particular subject. So if you're taking honors course or AP course normally adds about extra 0.3 points to the GPA. So normally on that particular subject, you got 3.5, but that was an AP course, you add a 0.3 to it. So your overall GPA comes out to 3.5 plus 0.3. So that's 3.8. Something like that. You get the idea, right? Unweighted means it just values the same all over the place. It's the same. You don't get any incentives, any bonus points. Doesn't matter if you're taking regular course or AP course, it's the same. Depending on which school you go to, it differs. So find that out first. And then we can talk about how those GPA, the numbers really mean. Do you get it? Let's move on. Now, I mentioned it in some other videos too, but when you become a senior, when you apply to colleges, your school is supposed to send to the college your high school profiles. In that school profile, it will show how many APs, how many IBs, how many kids got A pluses or A's, and if your school grades it from 0 to 100 scale, and where does A plus mean? 97 or higher or 96 or higher? Some schools have A minus range. Very different. Some schools don't have A plus ranges. They only have A's and A minuses. So it's all different all over the place. So high school counselors need to provide a school description, school sort of kind of guideline, understanding of our school profile. Give that to the college, and then college admissions people will read the explanation and then try to understand that particular candidate's profile. I said it, but in reality, college admissions, they're not on the computer system. They will have all of because someone else might have applied in previous years from your high school to that particular college. So they have that information already into this computer system. So they know what kind of school you go to and where you're coming from. And then compared to that school profile, where do you stand? Are you a strong candidate? If your school ranked students, are you top 3%, top 5%, or top 10%? That's where the story begins. Are you following? Go back to the main topic of the day, right? Somebody who goes to a B-level school, average school with a higher GPA, 4.0, for example, and then someone who goes to very competitive high school, a rigorous course, and a B GPA. which student is better? In order to explain that, let me try to explain it on a piece of paper first. Let's say on this column, there are 3 different types of schools. School level A, school level B, school level C. School top range level A means about 10% or higher of a graduating class goes to an Ivy League school, about 20% at least to go to top 30 ranked universities. To me, that's what A-level high school means. B-level, what does B-level mean? From out of graduating class, about 5% goes to an Ivy League school, and the top 30 universities, for example, maybe about 10% of graduating class end up getting accepted to top 30 schools. Now, C-level means something lower than that, right? Do you get the idea? Do you see the difference between A, B, and C here? AP's C-level schools probably have 3 to 5. B will have about 10. A probably around 30. Also, the school GPA can go from A minus to A plus, for example, and then something like B minus to B plus range, and then what is it, C minus to C plus range, right? This is a rough idea, but you get the idea here, right? So if you go to top school, A-level school, and then get an A plus, you're the best. You go to A-level school, but you end up getting a B, then you're here. How do you compare that kid with someone who goes to B-level school getting an A? These two guys are the tough decisions, right? Do you understand? Guys, which student is better? All right, let's figure out some numbers. Now, if it's A-level school, I would give extra 30 points. I'm trying to give different raw scores. B-level school, 20 points. C-level school, 10 points. Do you see that? And then if you're getting A, 30 points, B is 20 points, C is 10 points. This is rough idea, rough scores. So if you go to A school, 30 points, and then get a B, extra 20 points, it turns out to be a total of 50 points. Do you see where I'm going with this? You go to B school, so that's 20 points, but you're an A student, which is 30 points. So the total score is also 50 points. So this student, their outcome, their result comes out to be all 50. So in terms of this interpretation, their scores are the same. They evaluated, in other words, they're evaluated the same way. There'll probably be a little difference in between, but roughly speaking, this is the idea. So it doesn't matter if you go to top school or a lower ranked school, depending on what you get from the GPA, their scores, you will probably viewed as the same qualified candidate. Okay, but if you go to C, the lowest small school, and then you get an A, 30 points, and then the school itself is 10 points, the total point is 40 points. So that's the big difference. There's a big difference, right? The best you could get is 40 out of 60, but even though you're ranked number 1 student from C-level school, the best you could get is 40 points, whereas other schools can go all the way up to 50 points or 60 points. Do you see how this system works? I mean, I'm not saying this is how colleges apply it, but this is an idea. That's when you apply, colleges will have a range of they will rank, they won't say it's true, but they rank these different levels of schools. Some schools do it out of 100 scale, so B range is 85, C range is 75, whatever, but I hope you understand the idea here. So if I go to like a small school, the school that I went to, probably a C-type school, right? And then the best you could do is get a really strong GPA, get A-level, top-level GPA, and then even though you do that, your total raw score will come out to be 40 points, where other candidates' scores will be, again, 50, 60, right? How do you fill in the gap between my 40 points and 60 points? So someone who goes very top private high schools with an A GPA, how do you fill in the gap? That's what we want to talk about, right? That's when the standardized test scores come from. TOEFL scores, SAT scores, ACT scores, subject test scores, whatever these standardized test scores you could provide will help in this situation. Think about it. Everybody goes and take this standardized test on the same day, same looking test with the same set of questions, and evaluated in comparison. So it basically becomes a proof of how you performed compared to other high school candidates. Does this make sense? For example, even though I'm from a very small school, C-type school, but my SAT is freaking awesome, that basically means it will compensate my, for example, 40-point and the 60-point comparison to fill in the gap, and it will bump up my credentials. Does this make sense? That's where the standardized tests come from. In the worst scenario, if you flip it over, if you look at the opposite side, okay, here's a kid who goes to a top-level high school with a pretty good, decent, B plus range GPA, but his or her SAT score sucked. It's like a C range SAT score. And then it sort of becomes an interpretation. It sort of becomes a proof that, okay, he or she may get a nice score from school, but if we compare this candidate with other kids out there, SAT score, as far as SAT score goes, in comparison, This kid doesn't stand out. He's not as strong. That's what SAT, ACT, standardized test scores mean. Okay, to wrap up this video, you have to have a strong understanding of what type of your high school may be. Is your high school top level high school, top competitiveness, or B range or C range, roughly. And then you probably know what your GPAs look like. What are the courses that you're taking right now? Is the course selection, the choices of things that you're studying right now rigorous enough? Or are you just taking an easy way out? Are you just taking very smooth, easygoing courses? That's going to make the difference there too. So you calculate GPA, you combine that GPA with how competitiveness of your high school, and then you could get an idea of how strong of a candidate you're going to appear on paper. I hope that makes sense. So if you go to very top high school and try to hang in there, maintain your GPA high, and finish SAT, subject test scores, all that stuff strong, you're unbeatable. You're going to be a strong candidate as far as academic credentials go, right? If you go to a very small school, like the school I went to, let's say, I'm definitely sure the high school that I went to was a C-range school, very small, with 18 kids graduating class. That's freaking small. But how did I get into an Ivy League school? You study the SAT, provide information, plus I was good looking too. But anyways, so do all that, and then you can fill in whatever the difference gap. Remember that. You can share this video with your friends, families, anyone that you know of. If you have clicked the like button, I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I try to upload 1 or 2 videos a week here in this English channel, so please subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out any of my future videos. And if you leave comments, thoughts, please share your thoughts on the comment section. I will try to answer to your questions and comments best way I can. Stay healthy, eat a lot, study a lot, do your homework, be nice to your parents, be nice to your kids, be smooth. I will see you in the next video.